I'm going to start off by actually playing a video from Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI. Sam Altman is a very thoughtful individual, so that he takes his time getting to his points, but what he arrives at, I think, is very germane to this conversation. So I'll start by playing a short, not so short, it's about 2 minutes, thank you for bearing with, about what does it mean to work with this AI workforce that's gaining speed. So go ahead and cue that. Thank you. This aired in May, 3 days before they released 4.0, their then most capable model, just to kind of set the timeline. You can go ahead and play it. Thank you.
There's like a, and when you hear people like talk about the AI future they imagine, there's sort of two different approaches, and they don't sound that different, but I think they're like very different for how we'll design the system in practice. There's the, I want an extension of myself. I want like a ghost or an alter ego or this thing that really like is me, is acting on my behalf, is responding to emails, not even telling me about it, is sort of like, it becomes more me and is me. And then there's this other thing, which is like, I want a great senior employee. It may get to know me very well. I may delegate it. You know, you can like have access to my email and I'll tell you the constraints, but I think of it as this like separate entity. And I personally like the separate entity approach better and think that's where we're gonna head. And so in that sense, the thing is not you, but it's like a always available, always great, super capable assistant, executive,
it's an agent in a way, like it's out there working on your behalf and understands what you want and anticipates what you want, is what I'm reading into what you're saying.
I think there'd be agent-like behavior, but there's like a difference between a senior employee and an agent.
Yeah.
And like, I want it, you know, if I think of like I think like a bit, like one of the things that I like about a senior employee is they'll push back on me. They will sometimes not do something I ask, or there sometimes will say like, I can do that thing if you want, but if I do it, here's what I think would happen, and then this and then that, and are you really sure? I definitely want that kind of vibe, which not just like this thing that I give a task and it blindly does.
It can reason. Yeah.
So that's a quick, by show of hands, has anyone actually heard the All In podcast by chance? A few folks? So that was a snippet from All In that aired in May. 4 days after this interview, OpenAI published their 4.0 model, ChatGPT 4.0. The O stands for Omni. It was their then most powerful, and still their most broadly powerful model. And I wanted to also share what's happened since May that is a lead into this topic of like, how do we work with AI agents? So let's see, that was in May. Just a month ago, OpenAI released their O1 models, which are, and I feel like this has kind of gone underreported, but they're insanely good at certain things. There's a test that they're beginning to push on these models called the MENSA IQ test. Most general like open source, or in OpenAI's case, kind of closed source, most of these models can nail publicly available IQ tests, but the MENSA IQ test is different. It's actually designed for offline taking, so the model can't ingest all of the answers to get the test right. So when all of these other models have like they've done subhuman performance on the MENSA IQ test until last month when O1, it's actually two models, one's called Mini, one's called Preview. They trained it specifically to be good at 4 things. We've all heard like the STEM acronym, like science, technology, engineering, and math. It excels at these functions. So what's changed since that interview is they've actually released a model that's pretty darn good at reasoning. And I was playing with this O1 model before this talk, And what's really neat is you can ask it a single prompt, like a fairly complex financial question. And what's different about O1 is it asks itself like 10 other questions to give you a better answer. So it's self-reasoning, and it's fact-checking its own work, which none of the previous models really did. So I only mentioned the O1 model because a lot has changed since that interview in May. And two, these models are getting way better at tasks we previously thought were really hard, like financial calculations, higher order math. Coding has been one of the hottest areas in Silicon Valley. If you maybe saw in the news that Poolside AI just raised $500 million to tackle how can we code with AI, that their whole platform is around that. But a lot has changed in a few months. And so I just wanted to share that as we think about what can these agents do for us on our teams. So that I found that pretty exciting. That the OpenAI O1 models were released on September 12th, so a little more than a month ago. And one line that Sam Altman said a few times was like, I want a really good senior employee. And he thought about it for a while. He's like, I just don't want a rules-based system. I also want some reasoning, and maybe I want it to push back or challenge me a little bit. Maybe I want it to, like, I could do that, but here's the trade-off. You know, I could exclude these types of expenses, but here's the cost or the risk or change to your compliance profile. So it begs the question, like, what is a really good senior employee? And I think a lot of this is self-evident, but I think we can agree that a good senior employee knows finance, knows your domain expertise, knows how things work within your company, and they have a sense of prediction and flagging. They can kind of look around the corner because they've seen that pattern a lot, and they obviously know how to take remediation and make a decision. And one of the things that is also really good, like these models are really good at it, but humans are also pretty good at predicting as well. So our ability to predict outcomes allows us to make better decisions. A lot of what we build at AppCenter, they're prediction machines. We're extracting and predicting to make work easier or faster. And so, but prediction still remains a really important component of both human intelligence and decision making. And why this time in history is really exciting is like you've had this huge, the limit on what you can compute is near infinite. We have unlimited storage space. These GPUs, we've kind of followed the NVIDIA stock price. They make these GPUs that were initially for video games that then became really good at parallel processing for neural networks. All their money is from selling these advanced chips, these GPUs. And so we're at a unique time in that these models are getting better and better at mimicking human decision making. And you could train it off expense reports, you could train it off invoice processing, all to help your teams work faster, maybe even take on more creative strategic tasks. And so we wanted to propose, I would hope we had a definition for you, since the title of this talk is What is the AI Workforce and how do we work with it? But we'd like to propose this definition. It's a collection of artificial intelligence systems that produce a human-like output, and you could think of them as digital team members doing batches of work for you. And they can reasonably be measured and managed by a non-technical overseer. So if you hear in the kickoff talk about agents, who's going to oversee the agents? You are. We have to oversee a lot of the work as we're getting comfortable with autonomous agents doing work on our behalf sometimes. There's an element of trust and trust but verify. And so I think some of the bullet points you'll see on this slide is I think we've nailed some tasks that are very well suited for AI and machine learning to handle. A few that I wanted to put up there were just manual data entry, data checks, comparing. You saw Kunal and Anant talk about the different models and what they're good at. And last but certainly not least, fraud detection. But there's still quite a bit of things that maybe that model O1 I mentioned can do some of this stuff, but I don't think we've met a model that can motivate, talk to a team, have a tough career conversation, resolve a conflict between peers. So there's still plenty of work in like the human camp. But I just wanted to kind of diametrically oppose those two different types of tasks so we can begin to think about what does it look like when we have agents working on our teams. And so there's three parts to this slide. On the left, there's AI built for finance. That's kind of what we've built and designed the company to do. Then there's AI-powered recommendations, which is really a bridge from, okay, we could do these sort of tasks, but we also want to recommend. For those of you who are in the last session with Salman talking about Coach, that's AI making recommendations like, you've rejected this 98% of the time. Do you want to set up an auto rejection rule? You've approved it 99% of the time. Do you want to just create an auto approval rule? Or maybe the equivalent with invoices. And then if you get those two things on the left right, the big hope here is that when we have agents working on our team, you have more cycles, more time back to chase strategic projects. I don't know if you have like a to-do list at work, but like there's really important stuff at 4, 5, 6, and you're like, I'll get to that soon. And then like the top of the list keeps filling up. We really hope we can unlock some cycles for your own creativity and cognition to like reach across the aisle, build that partnership with another function. So that's kind of the vision of this. That's why I get excited about this topic. Some things that there's kind of this hate it or harness it moment happening right now. I've talked to a lot of customers and friends that are like, oh man, is this thing coming for my job? You know, it's a little bit scary because it's new technology. I was genuinely a little bit scared when the O1 model performed at higher than human intelligence. I'm like, whoa, this seems pretty crazy. So what are customers doing to prepare for this? There's this hate it or harness it moment happening right now. And for the folks that are choosing to harness it, what they're doing and what we've seen implemented with some of our customers is they're pulling AI into like job leveling conversations. They're pulling AI tools and adding it to job skill matrices for how you have career conversations. I think everyone's kind of played around with ChatGPT at this point, but there's a whole nother set of skills related to AI applications and analytics that we've seen customers mobilize their workforce to get them ready for this. Another thing that we've seen done is educate them on what can AI do and not do, what are the ethical considerations in that. That's a little bit more nuanced depending on your company. If you work in health tech or finance, you obviously have a different compliance posture with the regulatory environment. So understanding when AI gets it wrong is sometimes a really important question, and they're codifying that. And they're actually using specific AI skills to create career pathways for the folks on the team. And I think that's smart. I think that's preparing even on my team, I was talking to Assad, who manages our CSM team. Assad, I'll put you on the spot. Who's using what tools to get better using AI? Like, how are they using AI to make our team more efficient?
On our team?
Yeah.
Yeah, we use ChatGPT all the time, constantly for figuring out strategy, figuring out operations. My team uses it to hone language in emails, building out assets for customers, internal assets for education, enablement. Yeah, we use all kinds of, and then we also have other AI. We're also exploring some other AI tools for generating insights on, customer profile, customer health, identifying opportunities for, sending out education enablement for our customers, make it easy to scale, things like that. Yeah, absolutely.
So we're trying to eat our, thank you, Assad. We're trying to eat our own cooking here and really infuse this in our career pathing and how our teams work. Another use case I'll just share briefly, we work in customer success, customer support. So one way to get ready for a call or like know what's important to you as a business is, well, we'd hope we have a relationship where we've talked about that explicitly. But a lot of public companies are required to report a 10K or a 10Q every quarter. If you upload a 10Q to ChatGPT and be like, summarize this, and be sure to highlight cost-cutting initiatives and areas where AppSend can add value. My goodness, it used to take hours to read a 10Q. Now I can read the 10Q and summarize it in less than 2 minutes. So that's just one way we're trying to like use these tools and dog food, if you will, to be more effective for you as customers. And then, of course, improving efficiency. How can we have dashboards in both products, expense audit and autonomous AP, that actually allow your team and the managers to track, hey, how efficient are you? What is the FTE? What is the invoices process per FTE? What is the reports process for FTE? And being able to trend that over months and quarters is really powerful. So what could this look like? Okay, let's take an AP example. We got an AP manager, some clerks, and maybe some temp clerks because, you know, year-end spikes. We want to have some teammates that can join us for spiky cyclical volumes. In the future, we could see the manager using all these tools simply to augment their role. Maybe an AI agent works alongside the analyst or one of your someone on your team to generate insights that the business can then action on. And then, of course, you have these clusters or these AI agents that Anant talked about, that you literally click a button and they start doing work in AppSend for you. And this talks like, how do you manage that? I actually have a customer example to share with you how one of our autonomous AP customers is trying to integrate AI into their team, and they're doing it in kind of a creative way. But this chart is basically to show how AI agents can be both teammates and help you generate insights. The customer example I wanted to share was from Denali Therapeutics. They make drugs for what are called orphan diseases. So really rare diseases that are historically really hard to get money for because the patient population is so small. They do amazing work, and they hired AppSend and say, hey, we have a small team, we're lean, we need to process an ever-increasing amount of invoices. And what they did, we're like, okay, how do we go about this from a change management standpoint? They're like, what if we gave the AI a name? And they named the AI Linda. Linda is on their team. It's kind of a forced acronym, but it stands for Lament Invoicing Now Doing Automation. I'll take it. Linda, I think it's clever. And they literally pull open the AppSend dashboard and they're like, wow, Linda had a great day. They're like, whoa, how does she do it? And we've been able to drive some efficiencies and get their average time down. This slide's a little bit dated. This is down, average processing time's below 3 minutes now. But actually maybe closer to 2. But they've also seen the impact to their FTEs and shown, whoa, we can do way more with the folks on our team because we got Linda. And she's helping. She's helping bear the load of all this work, especially in a big volume month, which can be demoralizing at times. It's nice to have that AI teammate. But as much talk as there is about AI, I do want to emphasize a point that KPMG made that really resonated with me. AI works for us. And so as much as it's shaping our world and our teams, the way that we work is also going to shape how AI is designed. I know it's a little bit of a hand-wavy quote, but I think the way that we interact and include and indoctrinate AI agents onto our team will actually change the way that technology is designed. At least that's certainly the vision with AppSend. And then I wanted to, since this is a big topic, I've been trying to read as many books on this topic as I can. This book was published in September 2023. Mustafa is considered a thought leader in the space. He founded a company called DeepMind, which was acquired by Google. And then in DeepMind, Mustafa and the team built what was then Bard and then became Gemini, if you've used any of the Google AI engines. They're definitely in the top 3 in the race. This book, The Coming Wave, I wanted to recommend it because he talks about the early days of AI when they were just like training it to play games. And there's this breakthrough moment that Mustafa talks about in the book where they trained an algorithm to play chess, like we've seen in some other demonstrations. And through entirely based on self-play, like 2 algorithms playing each other, the algorithm achieved superhuman chess capabilities in 4 hours. The algorithm was called AlphaZero. You could look it up on Wiki. It was one of these like mind-blowing moments on like the AI journey. And then Google acquired DeepMind, and he wrote this book about like the journey and what he expects. So I just wanted to leave you with a little nugget if you're a bookworm like me. This one was pretty good. I think I read it on a Kindle. And one of the quotes that he shares in this book, actually quoting John McCarthy, one of the early pioneers, it's a little bit of a sobering quote because there's a lot of AI hype right now. And the quote says, as soon as it works, no one calls it AI anymore. AI is, as those of us building it like to joke, what computers can't do. And then once they can, we just call it software. So I think like we'll look back on these, maybe we'll look back on this time and be like, yeah, that's just like how software is. So it was also like sobering, but also exciting. So I wanted to recommend this book to you and help you along the journey of how do we include and indoctrinate and leverage AI agents in our workforce. Hopefully I gave you a few tools or tricks or insights on how to make that happen on your team. I know we're getting ready for some keynotes, but Alex, do we have a little bit of time? A few minutes, yeah. If there's any questions or you want to talk about this book or any of the slides we've talked about, any questions out there that you want to share?
Any recommendations on transforming your team, giving them that reassurance that their job is not going away, just be reallocated to a different type of position and responsibilities? There's a large fear out there.
Yeah.
Change is very difficult, and but I think the bigger thing is the fear. It's how I do my job, and my job's going away. I mean, I have college kids, and interestingly enough, one of them just said to me the other day, "Do you think I should continue in finance at USF? Because will I have a job? Will I be able to work as long as you have, Mom?" And I'm like, that's a really interesting question. I said, there'll always be jobs in finance,
Yeah.
but they'll just be wired differently than how I started with Excel spreadsheets, doing expense reports.
Yeah. Well, congrats to them also getting into USF. That's a good school. I think what I've tried to espouse is that hate it or harness it message. Like we're in that critical time period where if you think back to history, like when the tractor came out, the farmers, like everyone was up in arms. They're like, oh, it's going to take away the jobs. But what happened was they just got different jobs. And sometimes it was like driving the tractor or working in the production as we grew as an agrarian to industrial society. So there's always this like resistance, but it can actually make things a lot better. And I think that's where the hate it or harness it messaging has helped me personally. You could do finance, but whoa, if you learn the different tools out there, whether it's Blackline, AppZen, if you learn the AI basics, you're going to come in above other candidates. So I view it from an evolutionary standpoint. those are kind of my initial, but I love the question. We're asking a lot of ourselves too. Like, what could we replicate with a system to free up a human to do something more creative or impactful? Yeah, I really appreciate the question. It hits to kind of the heart and soul of this talk. Okay, any more questions? If not, we will break. And thank you so much for spending time with us today. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
All right.
Any raffling? Do you need this?
No, I'm good. All right, thanks everyone. What do you think of the AI workforce? Pretty cool, right? All right, yeah, pretty cool, right? Yeah, a lot of cool. It's